Hey, it's Anna Runyon. Happy Equal Payday. What is Equal Payday? Equal Payday is the day in the current year that women must work until to make as much as their male counterparts made the previous year. All the way till April 9th. Can you believe it? I can't. I am attending a networking event downtown San Diego. I'm getting ready to go hear Lorena Gonzalez speak. She's the Secretary Treasurer CEO of San Diego Imperial County's Labor Council. How's that for a title? So she's going to speak about closing the gap on gender pay inequality, and I'm really excited. I'd love for you to join me, so let's go.
I decided after law school that I wanted to go into public service. I knew that I wouldn't be paid as much in public service as I would at a large law firm. I would, have to say I'm working just as hard. I'm not sure if that was the wisest decision, but it's something that I was felt passionate about and something that I feel comfortable with. But sometimes when we talk about choices, we're talking about career paths that have been determined to be less worthy because they were traditionally female careers. We hear this a lot with teachers. The amazing thing, if you really think about teaching, is it's one of the few professions that it is 100% of the people in it have more than a bachelor's degree. Can you imagine a male-dominated profession where every single member of it had more than a bachelor's degree and people were arguing that an average salary of $68,000 was just fine and maybe we should cut a little bit more? We wouldn't. We would find it ludicrous. Now, can you imagine a job that's more important than teaching our children? As a woman, and as somebody who knows, working as hard as I do, that the teachers spend more time with my kids than I do, I can't. We need to encourage paid sick days. Do you know the number one reason that service sector women lose their jobs is because they have to take days off, not because they're sick. They don't usually take days off when they're sick, because their children are sick. And so many jobs don't provide you the right to continue to be paid if you have to stay home with a sick child or if you're sick yourself. That's just wrong. And it disproportionately, because of a variety of reasons, affects women. We need to provide childcare. The biggest barrier for all women in work at all levels who have children is childcare. But as you can imagine, in the service sector and working class, when you don't have the resources for childcare, it's even that much of a barrier to keep a full-time job. There are other things we can do. We have to pass the act that would protect workers to talk about pay. Lilly Ledbetter was great. It was a great symbolic victory, and I say symbolic because of this. You cannot have a cause of action in a pay dispute if you don't know what other people are making. And when an employer creates a policy that says you are not allowed to discuss your pay or your coworkers' pay, and that's legal, there's virtually no way, unless you're like stealing pay stubs, which would be illegal, to find out that your counterpart was making more money doing the same job. So we have to protect workers to have those conversations. And then we have to actually have those conversations. I started by talking about my pay, which is incredibly uncomfortable for me because it is tough, and we do have to have those conversations because you can't hold people accountable until you have information. There are only 13 mothers out of 120 legislators today in the state of California. 13. Now, a lot of you know I want to be number 14, but I think there is something special about people who have lived the challenges that people blame this inequity on, right? How are we going to get to those public policy goals of things like paid sick days, things like raising the minimum wage, things like allowing domestic workers to unionize without mocking the fact that they take care of our children and clean our houses? How are we going to get to those levels unless we have people who have to experience those things every single day in their own life to encourage others and explain to others why it's so important? If you're a strong woman, you're not called a strong woman, you're called something else. And yet somehow a strong male advocate doesn't face the same situation. So I think we need to be more aware of the words we choose to use about women, and we need to support them. It's incredibly difficult. I think there's something culturally, maybe it's just in for Latinas, but I don't think it is, that makes it very uncomfortable to talk about money, to ask for money, to tell people you need money. That's part of the reason probably that a lot of women aren't doing as well. It's an uncomfortable conversation, and that's one of the reasons too, women find it so hard to raise money in political campaigns. So the disparity continues to rise. So you can't just simply blame it on a woman leaving the workforce. And we need to be more understanding of the fact that women should be able to leave the workforce and re-enter at the same level that they were at and continue a rise. But studies after studies show that unfortunately, it's not just that you took a year off from maternity leave. But what happens is a 2007 study out of Stanford University where they actually sent resumes, like 1,200 resumes, into the northeast part of Connecticut and matched up the resumes of women and men as if they had exact qualifications, and the only difference being that the woman was a mother. Every time, the woman was a less desirable candidate for employment by the employer. Interestingly, a man being a father makes him more employable, but a woman being a mother makes her less employable. So you can't just say it's a woman's choice to leave the workforce for a year. That might be true, and that's a luxury I hope we all have. But upon re-entry, there is a barrier to allowing women back into the workforce at the same position and with the same respect as she was before she left.
I'm just going to summarize a few important things that I took away. The big issue is that women don't have access to the salary information, and that sometimes they're not even allowed to talk about it because employers make it illegal to talk about salary information. So here are 5 things you can do. Number 1, you can spread the word about this pay gap. Number 2, you can encourage other people to talk about their salaries and encourage other women to negotiate. Number 3, you can encourage your organization to offer salary negotiation workshops for women. Number 4, you can encourage Congress to pass the Paycheck Fairness Act, which means it's not going to be illegal to discuss our salaries. And number 5, you can research salary.com or payscale.com and to confirm that you're making what you should be making right now. The most important thing I got out of this is to really raise your voice and to stand up for yourself and to stand up for women in general. We're all in this together. All right, this is Anna Runyon, and thanks for joining me. Real quick, I wanted to show you where I'm at today. So I'm at the Westgate Hotel in downtown San Diego, and isn't this room so cute? And I would just love to have a meeting and sit right there at the head of the table because that's where we should be sitting. Thanks so much for joining me. This is Anna Runyon. Bye.